I've been playing with different ways to intro the podcast. We've done the funny names.
Mm-hmm.
We've done the singing. I've wanted to hop on here and talk about some like, welcome to Red Light Homies. That's Zane, and I'm the pain, bringing you back. 103.5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something like AM.
Oh, AM.
You know,
okay, so that's
more,
like 1340 AM.
We're not like mainstream free beer and hot wings kind of thing, We're A&M Rush Limbaugh kind of stuff.
I mean,
you agree with that? That we're along the lines of Rush Limbaugh.
See, I don't remember who Rush Limbaugh is. The name sounds familiar, but I don't.
Okay, just say no.
Yeah,
just say God no.
I think the name sounds familiar, but I have no idea what Rush Limbaugh is.
Famous, very famous conservative radio show host. Very controversial. Very weird. Weird guy.
Yeah, nah.
If you've been around any old white people and you've been talking to them, they've probably said, hey, you should read Rush Limbaugh's book. It's a great book. And you're like, no, I'm okay.
The only, like, old person that suggested anything to me was, what's this dude's name? He's a very conservative. He has a podcast, I think. It's like something Peterson.
You just named about
I know.
people?
It's like something Peterson, I believe.
Jordan Peterson?
No. I just may be completely wrong. I want to drop that.
How is that no? How is that a no?
It might actually be Jordan Peterson. I think I have it saved somewhere. I was about to say,
you said conservative guy with a podcast, last name Peterson, and offered you a book on the podcast. That is 100% Jordan Peterson.
It sounds
if it's not
about right. I'd have to
he
find it through
like
text, so I'm not going to search in my phone for that.
See, a man, he's got to be dangerous, but he's got to have the ability to control it. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah. That's yeah.
But no, I was going to open this little movie thing. Let's not cough. I feel it in the back of my throat. I feel it coming in the back of my throat.
I feel
a cough coming in the back of my throat.
Yeah, tonight.
I thought you were going to just stop it in. I feel it coming in.
Because I messed up the lyrics and I had to think about it for a second. So,
anyways, I've never had a true movie theater experience. Like when I talk to film guys and movie guys, they're like, man, going to the theater for Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or just pick a movie. I had such a special time. Growing up, I think the most packed theater I've ever been in was my senior trip. It was senior week and we went to the movies and we saw Shazam. And we packed 2 full theaters. Outside of that, the biggest theater I've been in, the most full it's been, was maybe 10 people.
The biggest or the most full theater I had been in was the release of one of the Harry Potter movies, whichever one released in 2010.
Nerd!
I was in California, though, so I had an actual trip, unlike the movies during senior week.
Hey, we got in a bus. We went to a different town.
Uh-huh. Let me guess, you drove to Nashville and went to Opry Mills and went to that theater?
More like Murfreesboro to Smyrna.
Even worse, okay.
And we hopped on a bus. It was a field trip.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying field trips weren't real trips?
They were field trips.
You're a dirty, rotten-nosed liar, if I've ever heard one.
I said they were field trips. How was that
a
lie?
But you're saying they're not real trips. Trips. It's a trip.
Field trip and real trip can be the same thing sometimes, just not in your case.
That's what I wanted to hear. But growing up, it was literally dollar theater. There was a theater that cost $1 a ticket, and it was months after movies came out. We went to that one. Not complaining. Cheap tickets. Grabbed some Dollar Tree snacks and snuck them bitches in there. You know what I'm saying?
You went from Murfreesboro to Smyrna, right? For the movie?
The Dollar Theater situation.
Yeah.
And the Murfreesboro and Smyrna senior trip, not the same thing.
Okay.
In fact, over a decade apart.
Okay. I was like, because that sounds not real.
No, there was a $1 movie theater, like a $5 movie theater in Antioch near the post office. It was like right next door.
Okay.
And that's where we went and saw all our movies. Not complaining. Not complaining at all. I think the most full I've ever been, though, was in Rogue One. Star Wars Rogue One. And that was in Ohio.
I think
Great movie.
had I let enough time pass between movies releasing to go watch them in theater, so it was never really too full, because I just didn't like a full theater.
See, and people, like, I want to support movie theaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely support the business, but that's why I'm always on the out when somebody's like, oh, the movie theater experience, man. You got to get in there with everybody. No, I'm okay. I'll wait a week or two after, try to avoid spoilers if it's a massive movie, and I'm cool, you know?
Yeah, I'm not a big crowd guy, but I mean, I've been to the theater quite a few times in recent years, so.
I'm the kind of guy where if the theater's getting too crowded, I'll just call in a bomb threat. You know what I mean?
I'm just going to flash big red text saying, do not do that.
Hey, if a place is too crowded, go to the bathroom and call in a cheeky little bomb threat.
I would not recommend this. I would not. As a matter of fact, don't listen to Jackie. I might, I would say I'd want to blank his audio, but I won't. You'll hear what not to do. So
a week later, they're just on the news. Local Walmart has received 15 bomb threats in the span of a couple days.
In the span of 26 hours, local Walmarts received 25 bomb threats. That's almost one an hour.
Yeah, no, they can't track your number, though.
Absolutely.
They will find you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not going to bring up my solution because I don't know if that's actually still a solution. So
here, write a note.
Mm-hmm.
Slip it in between the milk. All right? And someone will find it.
Eventually, probably about 4 months later, it says, I have a bomb on a note.
People don't pay attention, though. Someone will grab the milk and it will just float onto the floor and slide under the thing, and you're going to be by the chips.
It'll probably get swept up.
Yeah, with some random fucking guy picking it up and going, what's this? What?
And then crumpling it up, throwing it away.
But this is way off topic to the smooth little
It
transition I wanted to do. As you can see by the title, we watched 3 movies that came out in 2024 to see if the film industry that is notoriously gotten the reputation of being cooked, is it actually cooked? Now, you see the movie posters in the thumbnail. Mm-hmm. You've read it in the description. We wanted to pick 3 movies that weren't massive deals, right? You could argue Transformers 1, but Transformers 1 wasn't a massive deal.
It wasn't huge, no.
We wanted 3 completely different movies. We got a dramatic, revenge, over-the-top action movie. Mm-hmm. We got a animated comedy, animated children's movie, and a raunchy comedy.
Comedy. Yeah.
But these are 3 movies that I wanted to see. I like Transformers. I was interested in Monkey Man after people kept giving me positive reviews. And I want to watch pretty much everything John Cena does because I think he is phenomenal. I think he's great.
Yeah. He's a fun actor. He plays his role really well, I should say.
So which one shall we do first? Which one would you like to cover first?
I have the most to say about Monkey Man.
We'll do that last.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can do that one last. The one I watched most recently was Ricky Stenicki, if we want to start there.
If it's fresh on the mind, let's talk about Ricky Stenicki. Now, the first thing I want to say about Ricky Stenicki, the first thing my lady said about this movie, John Cena's a much better actor than Dwayne Johnson. She said he's so much better than The Rock. And I agree. John Cena is phenomenal.
John Cena is actually, I'd probably consider him a better actor than The Rock. But also, The Rock's like, the way The Rock gets put in movies kind of doesn't seem to want to make him or portray him as a better actor.
People always compare Dave Bautista, The Rock, and John Cena. Because Batista was in WWE, John Cena, The Rock, they all
Yeah.
are the biggest names or the ones that have stuck around Hollywood from the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And Batista, you would know him as Drax,
Yep.
obviously. But he he was in this like horror movie where he played a member of a group that was holding people hostage in this house.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But like lined up against everybody, if you're one of them hostages, you're like, just don't feed me to that one. Please.
Don't let me near that guy. Anybody else though, yeah.
Please. Because everybody's like normal and then he's just like, holy fuck.
She's like, okay. I mean, it's not too, who the fuck is that? Shit.
But retracting, if y'all don't know Ricky Stenicki, it stars John Cena, Andrew Santino, Zac Efron, and I do not know the black guy's name.
I don't know the black guy's name either.
And there was a couple different people, but basically this group of friends makes up this lie of a person
that takes the blame for all of their dumb shit.
That takes the blame for everything, and they just don't let it go.
Yeah.
They are middle-aged, fully grown adults with wives and a husband, wife, girlfriend, one with a kid on the way,
one with
and they're still
with a kid.
And they're still trying to get out of shit.
Yeah.
By using this fake person. Well, as you would know, it gets them into a lot of trouble. So they hire John Cena, who does a show, a musical act, if you want to say. Mm-hmm. He does some Shakespeare.
Yes. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have been in this movie. They meet him in Atlantic City. They hire him to play Ricky Stenicki. And then he decides himself, no, I'm actually going to be Ricky Stenicki. He says, and I'm sticking around.
I'm going to be Ricky Stenicki. I'm going to be here to stay.
Now, before going in depth, I just want to get my thoughts out of the way. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was more bad than good. Let's get that straight. On the scale, it was more bad than good.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fine.
It really played the average raunchy comedy, I guess. It was just in a way kind of dirtier, but it was just,
well, that's because you had a guy that just played a alcoholic singer that was just making parodies of jerking off, like parody songs about jerking off.
He was what was it, Rock Hard Rod?
Rock Hard Rod.
Yeah.
Phenomenal name.
It just struck me, like, you see the beginning of the movie, right? And you're like, okay, they're kids. And then they're middle-aged adults, and they've made Ricky Stenicki into a full-blown web of lies where they actually kept track of everything they ever said about him just so they could keep the lie going. And it's just like, at what point is this just too much work?
And even then, they don't follow it.
No.
One guy will say Ricky's doing this at one point. One of them will say another thing. One of them said he dated Ricky Stenicki.
Yeah, one of them dated Ricky Stenicki for a few dates. It was, it's just like, okay, sure, I guess.
You really have to, like, throughout the movie, you really have to set aside that these are 30-year-old men holding on to a lie that they made up when they were 12.
I literally have it written down as like, let's see, where did I? Okay, this man. Okay, the black guy. What was his name? Zay. Wes. Wow. Okay.
You were about to say Zane or something.
I was about to say Zane. But like, pretty early on into the movie, he almost just outs them randomly. It seems like, not really randomly. He was getting questioned, but he was just like, yeah, it's all a lie. And I'm just like, dude, we're 15, 20 minutes into the movie. What?
Yeah, I think they were trying to set him up as the moral compass, kind of. Because you remember in the bar, he starts talking to the guy like it's all Zac Efron's character's fault.
Yeah.
He's like, you made up this lie. You hide. And he's just shoving it all on him. I think they tried to make him the reasonable, level-headed one, but he's lying to his own partner about what he's trying to do for work, which is write children's books.
And it's wild that he's one of, I think I counted 3 black people in that movie. And yeah, think back on it. He was the one, and then there was 2 more at the party.
I'm struggling to remember a black guy.
There was 2 more. They didn't have any voice lines. They were just part of the crowd at the banquet that they were having for the merger.
Hey, they did have Andrew Stantino. You know what they say about gingers?
No.
You know what they say.
I really.
You know what they say.
Sure. Okay. Whatever.
No, talking about
but
the
he
actors,
was like the only. Sorry, I had to finish this thought here though. He was the the black guy, but he was also the black guy that was a pothead and unemployed for most of the movie.
Hey, he was gay though.
And gay. They just shoved everything onto one person, like most movies tend to do nowadays.
Now, in terms of like the actors, this was a very smooth transition.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena outacted every single person in this movie. Like, I'm not hating everybody's performance completely, but John Cena by far was the best part.
Yes.
And I'm not in terms of, I didn't laugh at most of the shit he did. I didn't, but like in terms of pure acting ability, he outshined everybody.
I'd have to agree with that. Because, I mean, Zac Efron, while pretty much being like the main character of the movie, besides John Cena, it just, you could see they're acting like up against each other. And it was just like John Cena definitely was just better at acting.
Which is crazy because John has been, well, I guess technically John has been acting in the WWE. But like if you go watch 13 Rounds, or if you go watch The Marine, and then you watch like Peacemaker, and you watch this movie, 2 completely different actors. And in reality, that's not that far apart. It's less than 20 years. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, Marines came out in 2007, I think. Or The Marine.
Yeah, something like that. Less than 20 years. And he's really good. Like,
yeah.
I really like John Cena as an actor.
I have noticed that like a lot of his roles more recently seem to be like the kind of guy he was in Ricky Stenicki. Like in The Peacemaker, he was the dumb, strong guy that was, really good at fighting, I guess. And then in Ricky Stenicki, he was the guy that did extra fucking research into his role in 3 days and learned like a business merger, learned about the whatever philanthropy stuff he was doing in another country. And it was like, okay, but you were also an alcoholic and you got clean in those 3 days to do all of that.
And he looked rough.
Yeah.
Like, rough.
Somebody boiling lobsters around here?
But no, don't worry.
It's just
piss.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. No, with this, you have to walk a line of what you can forgive just because of what genre this movie is in.
Yeah.
Like, can anybody do, like, let's put this situation in reality. Can this guy work his way up into a high-level position in this company, take the lead on a very important merger, circumcise a child, circumcise a child with a cigar cutter.
I almost pulled it out, but I don't know where my cigar cutter is. So
just, you have to excuse a lot of like, okay, this is a ridiculous raunchy comedy. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of wants to be taken a little more seriously.
No, it didn't. No, it did not. No, absolutely not.
No, I'm not saying the entire movie, but there seems to be an underlying of like friendship and lying and being a good person and whatever.
I can agree with that. There was that underlying plot, but like the movie did not, in my opinion, present that extremely well with the raunchy comedy stuff because they just kept laying
I'm not saying
it on.
Yeah, I'm not saying it presented it well. I'm saying there was an attempt
There was.
at having some kind of message of like friendship and being a good person and being truthful and it just didn't land. Like, and I wanted to stick with one, either be the ridiculous comedy or the comedy, but like there's a good message behind. There's not.
Yeah,
There's not.
I literally,
In terms of the three guys, the three main guys,
mm-hmm.
shitheads. Like shitheads.
a lot of them.
I was fully backing John Cena's character. I felt for John Cena's character, but the three main guys, like at the end where they don't really face any consequences for lying for 20 plus years about this shit. I'm like,
I mean, my ending note for this movie was literally, what a fucking feel good ending, because that's exactly what it was.
quote unquote feel good ending.
Yeah, it was supposed to. It's meant to be a feel good ending. Everybody wins pretty much. So I mean,
I felt good for Stanicki.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but even then, he was basically lying. They ended his role in the lie. Like, those guys are going to kill me. They just handed him a cease and desist.
Well, I mean, he didn't lie about that though.
Yes, he did. They're crazy fans. The entire movie.
Well, the entire movie up until the point of him and Zac Efron getting into a fight, in which Zac just slapped him, and he was like, "Oh my God, don't kill me," you know, like
he said, "I owe a lot of people a lot of money," and he just got served with the cease and desist,
which is a loose end that they never really, because you buy it, right? That he's a drunk that just went all over the police in Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of buy that he owes a lot of people money. And he's paranoid for a reason. That's just never tied up. They just do it for a joke.
No, that was the point. It wasn't really dudes looking for him for money. It was those dudes looking to serve him a cease and desist the entire movie. Because those were the guys he was running from that entire movie.
Yeah, no, but I'm taking the line of, I owe a lot of bad people a lot of money.
I mean, possibly, but every time he's like had that interaction, it was with the same two guys.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just, I think they did finish that out.
But at the end of this, in all, 1 to 10, what would you rate this movie, Ricky Stanicki?
Okay. I find it hard because, as you said, I have to draw that line of like, it's a raunchy comedy. And that made it really hard for me to to like it because it tried to be serious. So I probably, out of 10, probably like a 3 or 4.
Listen, I'm in the same boat as you, all right? And the main reason for this, I would excuse a lot more things a lot more if the movie was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't a single... The only scene where... I watched this with my lady. The only scene where I laughed and she was laughing was the rabbi getting high on ketamine and about to circumcise the child. Just because the first shot is... Andrew Santino's character holding his baby going like he was so scared. That was great. Everything else, it was a small chuckle or it was nothing. So I'm right around 4.
I can't even say like that scene really got much of a laugh out of me. Most of that movie I was just like, huh? Because the jokes were just like not landing too well.
A lot of pop culture references that I was just like,
yeah.
Over my head. I might be too young.
I might be too young.
But on to Transformers 1.
Yeah.
Now, right off the bat, did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you what's your thoughts?
I actually kind of liked Transformers 1. There were some pitfalls that I didn't like, but overall, I think oh my gosh, what was his actual name? Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, Chris Hemsworth. He did a pretty good job voicing Optimus, in my opinion, because he was young and he definitely had like I say isms, but like he had a lot of the same. He did really good when he was getting coached by the actual Optimus Prime, is what I'm saying.
See, I'm going to heavy disagree with you.
Really?
I'm not saying he did an absolutely terrible job, but there's one scene that sticks out to me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scene where this is the scene I need to believe you're Optimus Prime. Okay.
Okay.
Orion Pax. You are turning into Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when everything's going down and he gets back to the mining colony, right?
Yeah.
And he's, in his Transformer state, whatever.
Yeah.
He gets back to the miners and he is trying to talk them up to join him and start the revolution. And we're tired of this. I didn't buy him as a leader in his cadence, in his voice. Like, go back and watch that scene. Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime would have been phenomenal. And I know you shouldn't judge it based on that, but it's hard not to. But he was very like, we need to rise up, join me, and we will fight. And it's like, I don't believe in you as a leader. Nothing against Chris Hemsworth. Nothing personal, but just I didn't believe it.
I could see that. I felt a lot of his, like, what was his name? Peter Cullen? Is that what you said? Like the original?
That's the OG, yeah.
Okay. I felt a lot of that in just like some of his like random lines. It wasn't more so when he was trying to be optimistic and be a leader, because I agree that didn't really hit too well. But like, I think back to watching that the live action like Transformers, I'm just like, Optimus is like like his random voice lines, and I'm just like, he did hit a lot of that. Like, I did feel like his voice was also just, he was there but like younger. It's what it felt like. So just,
yeah, it's very mixed to me. It's just when it came down to
the
show
serious
up,
parts,
you're Optimus Prime, it just fell flat. But the reason I just put my head in my hands is Optimus Prime named Optimus Prime because his whole character trait is that he's optimistic.
Yeah, I realized that. Yeah.
That's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, at the end of the movie.
And we're going to get into how fucking stupid some of the names of things are, especially one big one, but I'm sure we'll get... But
yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I can agree, because I at the end of the movie, I sat there and was just like, there's no way they just made his name have a meaning of being optimistic.
But in terms of voice acting, I really liked Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. Like, that was one where I was like, he nailed Megatron.
Yes, he did, but Megatron as a character in that movie just felt super fucking shallow.
But no, I will say this about Megatron, and I wrote it in my notes. His turn felt like prequel Anakin Skywalker. Because within 2 minutes, it was, I follow protocol, I'm just a mining droid. Yeah. It went from that to, I'm going to kill Sentinel Prime, all of his followers, and make sure no one else... Snap of the fingers immediately.
I'm glad you followed my point without hearing me, because that's what I was saying. He, like, him as a character just felt shallow because of that. He just had a
I did hear that,
switch moment. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like it just would have worked better if it happened slower. And
and not to such a degree.
And I know I'm trying to hold off on like, well, it's a kid's movie, so you got to ignore some things. But Star Wars is a fucking kid's movie too, and it gets the same criticism. And it's a valid criticism. How does he switch? And I know there's a big point on the spark in your chest. That's who you really are. And it's just also, like finding that spark or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that quick of a fucking switch is insane.
See, I view it from his point of view, where he's like, his entire life, he's just like, I'm a mining robot, I follow protocol. And then it was his entire life that was a lie, which is why he flipped that switch. But in all actuality, it just seemed too fast for him to go from yeah, we do our jobs to I'm killing everybody related to this man
Yeah.
and not feeling any remorse. And
Wait,
like,
I would have loved something along the lines of Optimus and Megatron start a revolution together, like halfway through the movie, maybe. And maybe then Megatron starts getting slowly more and more ruthless and yada, I'm the leader and yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't happen like that.
no, it just kind of like he's suddenly very angry at everybody, and he's trying to not let it get to him at first, but then he just kind of lets the flip switch, and his eyes go red, and he's just like, "Fuck everything." And it really like what really confused me was after,
and then he kills his best friend. He kills his.
Yeah.
Optimus jumps in front of the thing, but he drops him down the hole.
He says, "I'm done saving you." Like, come on, dude.
The switch is so, and like we talked last week about Madness, and we brought up this Megatron Optimus Prime because I heard it a lot. This is not a good illustration for that argument in the slightest. No. Whoever is talking that argument about these characters, you don't understand. I don't want to say you don't understand it, but you have a very surface level
understanding.
Because they do. They have two different mindsets. One's way more violent. One is way more peaceful.
Yep.
But that's it. There's no nuance to anything. It's such a shallow version of that art. And it's a kid's movie, okay? I know that. But I saw so many people saying, no, Megatron was actually right. No, Optimus. That's not the argument to be had in a kid's movie like this.
It's a kid's movie. And it kills me. Like, even like towards the end, after he kills Sentinel, he just goes on a rampage for a couple seconds. Like,
yeah, he decides to kill all his followers.
Yeah.
Sentinel has followers? Who are Sentinel's followers?
There was a big group of people that when he went to go meet the aliens that was with him and people that were tracking them down, he did have followers.
Well, yeah, but he just started blowing buildings down.
Yes, exactly. And I'm thinking, like, I'm looking at him like, okay, maybe he's just blowing up the statues of Sentinel Prime. And then, they start panning the camera or showing different scenes. And it's just like, no, he's just destroying everything. Like, anything he sees. And people are just running out of the way trying not to get crushed by fucking buildings because he's just destroying everything.
And people want to say Megatron was right. What are you talking about? What?
They really, I think this movie probably inspired certain CEOs.
Definitely. This movie was definitely behind the current uprising. People are like, Megatron had some good. Let's start bombing cities.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
We'll start with one and then we'll move to the other because that's what happened almost immediately.
I will say I did enjoy the introduction of Starscream and how they set him up as Megatron's number 2.
Yeah.
I loved Steve Buscemi voiced Starscream. I thought that was a very good choice as Starscream. But just for Megatron to kick the shit out of Starscream and then squeeze his throat that his voice fucks up.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Oh yeah. And I like in that same like scene, I had a line that was really funny to me, and it was just like, "Why should we follow you?" Pulls up the cannon, "We will follow you."
We will follow you.
And I'm just like, that's hilarious. That was actually kind of funny.
But in that same light, speaking of fighting and things that happen fast, they went from completely incompetent in their new bodies to all of a sudden beating the shit out of trained armies in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that the fighting part really confused me, but also I think they were trying to explain, like within the movie, that you're what's they call it, the change gear or whatever, something.
The Transformers cog, the
transforming cog or whatever that is. I feel like they were trying to portray that as its instinct. So I think that's what eventually happened. But them becoming good fighters did kind of like, okay, that was really fast. I feel like they moved a lot of time along really quickly in that movie.
But the last point, and I know we're shitting on this movie a lot. I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. But the last point I want to bring up, I mentioned names and being stupid. Megatron, his whole thing is you will never be deceived again. That's his whole thing. You will never be deceived if you follow me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he names his little group Decepticons. I get why Optimus would go with the Autobots because his whole thing is autonomy, right?
Yeah.
Free will, whatever. But you're so against being deceptive
that you name your group.
And you name your entire group Decepticons.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
He changed his name to follow his idol. What was it, Megalotron?
Megatronus Prime.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, so that's how he got the name?
That's what I immediately thought. I was like, that's not Megatron because that's Megatronus Prime. So I'm assuming.
I'm not totally in tune with the lore, so maybe that's in reality. If that's reality, that is dumb. Stupid. They just took Megatron and added Tronus to it.
Yeah. At least Optimus Prime came from a word, I guess, but
yeah.
But I mean, I could follow the naming scheme because B for Bumblebee.
I hated B in this movie.
I loved him, dude. Towards the end.
I hated
towards
B.
the end.
In
the beginning, he wouldn't shut up. So
Badassatron. God, I hated B so much. There was a funny line where it was like, why is his mouth taped shut? It's like, because he wouldn't stop talking, even when passed out, especially when he's passed out.
And at that point, I literally wrote, Bumblebee is awesome.
And then he rips off his thing. He's like, oh my God, it's Starscream and Soundwave. And they're like, see? I told you it wasn't tight enough.
He said, there's a lot of waves.
Dude, he was played by Keegan Michael Key from Key and Peele.
Yeah.
Which was cool. But I know Bumblebee is Michael Bay Bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love Bumblebee. And to see this, I know it's a kid's movie. I know they need an over-the-top comic relief. But it's just because I'm so used to Bumblebee being like that big of a change, I wasn't rocking with.
But Bumblebee was like that in the Michael Bay movies.
What?
Bumblebee was like that in the Michael Bay movies.
The comic relief over the top.
I mean, not extremely over the top, but didn't he get a voice box at one point?
At the end of the first movie, and then it was never spoken of again.
Yeah, they never did. But even in the first movie, when he was using the radio to talk, he was doing shit like that. Not to that extreme, but he was definitely
sarcastic and sassy. He wasn't. I'm badass.
But
I'm badass.
He didn't seem as expanded on as he did in this movie, but he definitely had some isms that were leaning that direction by being sassy.
And to be fair, every robot in those movies, outside of Optimus Prime and Megatron, had moments where they're like, "Whoa, how we doing?" Every fucking one.
Yeah. So I mean, I liked him. I liked Bumblebee in that movie.
But what I liked about this movie, I loved the animation. I thought the action when it was going down was fun. Mm-hmm. I thought most of the voice actors did a pretty good job for, I'm just going to call her R2 not R2, RC. Mm-hmm. Because I can't remember her name in the movie, so I'm just going to call her RC. I thought she was played really well. I thought Sentinel was played really well. I thought most voice actors did really well, even if I could not see them being these characters. I think the standout for me is Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron.
I think at points I forgot that it was a kid's movie and then was calling plot points, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a kid movie. No wonder it's predictable. So
it was predictable.
Yeah, that was my whole thing. I was like, yeah, Sentinel's got to be the bad guy at the beginning of the movie. So
yeah, no. As soon as he came on the screen, my lady was like, "Oh, so he's the villain, right?"
Yeah, yeah. But I think overall, I don't think I hated it. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Overall, I'd give it a 5 out of 10.
I'd probably
give it completely average for me. I'm not gonna watch it again. It was. Yeah.
I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6. So yeah, I'll stick around 5.5, 5.5.
All right, moving on. Monkey Man,
big one,
2024. And I'm telling you right now, I loved this movie. I had some issues with it, but overall, I was invested all the way through. I loved the action. The acting was great. Especially my boy Alfie, the little dude with the high-powered 3-wheel little smart car.
Trike. Yeah.
Dude, I loved him. I loved the dirtbag, the scumbag promoter. I thought the Australian guy.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. The action, as I said, the action was good. The two main problems I have with it, and then we'll get your thoughts about it.
Okay.
I swear. I thought for a moment before he started training in the temple, it started to get boring. Like I started checking the runtime of the movie. Not a good sign.
No.
But it did pick back up. And I thought the villains were forgettable. Like he had solid motive. They were evil pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But do you know their names?
No.
I don't remember their names. I know their job their job titles.
Yeah, somewhat.
But that's what I thought of the movie. Overall, I loved the movie.
So this movie was recommended to me by a few different people, and I watched it, and I agree. Like it was a well-made movie. Like it kept me watching. Like I was interested in watching the movie. But there were like I feel like I have to watch it again to see if I actually missed out on information I think I missed out on.
Okay.
Because like let's see, towards the end. Okay, not towards the end. Towards the end of my notes here. It seems like there should have been a prequel. Like I get they were like outlining information in the beginning of the movie and like throughout the movie, like of things that happened in the past. But it feels like shallow-ish. Like they were giving him a deep story, and yet it wasn't shallow. I probably used the wrong word there. But it just felt like I was missing a lot of stuff. Like there was the girl that he was like talking to. The whatever her name was. Don't know her name.
The prostitute?
Yeah. I'm just like random love interest. Like they share a few lines at some point in the movie, and then they don't talk again, but they just kind of look at each other.
See, I was going to praise the movie because they did play Roxanne, which, by the way, one of my lady's favorite songs of all time. Mm-hmm. It's about a man who falls in love with a prostitute, and that's why you hear "You don't have to wear that dress tonight. You don't have to sell your body anymore."
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there were hints at being a love interest, but I actually really like the movie for not forcing a love story into this story.
I can agree, but it seems like they were trying to, because I mean, throughout the entire movie, they were like making eye contact and like subtle communication, but like, and at some point
and
she
does
shows up
save his ass at the end.
Yeah, and she saves his ass at the end, and I'm just like, okay, but like, who is she? What was
That's fair.
What was her actual significance to the plot of the movie, besides her being a prostitute and like talking to the man, being close-ish to the dude?
Well, I think in terms of it, I think that you are mostly right in she's just kind of there. But I think a lot of it, you'd have to really look into what she tells him, especially with like, don't feed that dog, you're just going to give it hope.
Yeah, it's
like, oh, she's talking about herself, getting you hope, whatever.
I missed that. That was my fault.
Yeah, you really have to look at what she says to really understand it. But I agree with what you said. But as I said, I do like that the movie did not pull the trigger on forcing them to be a couple. And, making it out or whatever.
And then, like, there were points in the movie. It's like not really a plot related reason, but more of a like how, just how, because like the ending fight. Well, I'll roll back here a little early in the movie. You mentioned in Transformers 1, like they suddenly got good at fighting or fighting trained like soldiers and shit.
Yeah.
How do you go from losing every fight, not sure if it's on purpose or not, because I couldn't really tell if he was like doing that on purpose, like losing those fights. Yeah. But it went from that to punching a sandbag to beating everybody up in that hotel.
Well, in the ring, he was booked to lose every fight. He was supposed to lose.
That's what I was saying. I was like, it seemed like it was supposed to be that way, and I was like, I'm not sure if that was actually like if you're losing every fight, how is that even like, entertaining?
Yeah.
I guess for the
But I will
people
say
in the movie.
he loses the fight to the cop the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He destroys the four guys that when he wakes up in the cop car or ambulance or whatever the fuck he's in,
Yeah.
destroys those four guys,
Mm-hmm.
destroys the guy who is the pimp that he runs into, and he's like, "You brought cops onto my property," and he starts trying to beat him with a cane, if you recall that
I
scene.
don't recall that scene.
So I think it showed that he had the potential to be a great fighter, and then when he went to the temple and he explored, you finally saw the full flashback of what happened.
Yeah.
And he faced it, and then he was able to focus his energy on whatever. I think, and actually, if you don't have any more thoughts, that leads me into one critique of the movie I see often.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Okay. So one critique I see is shaky cam at the beginning. You can't really see what's going on because whoa, right?
Yeah.
That's a criticism you had?
Yes.
Okay. I think, and you can be the judge on whether it lands or it does not land, but I think the shaky cam in the first half of the movie is intentional. Because in the first half of the movie, you're supposed to think that, or he is played up as he's chaotic, he doesn't actually know what he's doing in a fight, so he's all over the place, and the camera's supposed to mimic that. That's why in the second half, it's way more steady, it's way more focused, you can see what's... Now, whether or not that message hits, and whether or not that is a good way of portraying that, is up to you, but that's what I got out when I saw shaky cam and more focus cam in the first and second half of the movie.
So to agree with you here, I have this split up into, of course, like I've said before, I have notes on this, right? So my second note is I get their style, but the excess camera shake makes me nauseous because that's what I was feeling. I'm watching on a 34-inch ultra wide screen, and I'm sitting like right up next to it. I'm just like, this is making me kind of sick. And then towards the end of the movie, I'm just like, I take back what I said about the camera shake being annoying. There seemed to be an overarching theme of being chaotic, and then him calming towards the latter half of the movie, where it's like the camera actually gets smooth and not as shaky, of course, when it's not an action scene, of course. But you could see the overarching theme, and I immediately thought back to the one movie we were talking about a while back that we both watched the video essay on, coincidentally.
Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds, yeah. And I think back to that, and it's just like, that really seems like a film guy thing to notice.
Yeah, just when I heard that criticism, that was my first thought. But as I said, it does make you nauseous, and it makes the movie hard to watch.
Yeah.
So that might not be a great way of portraying that.
I can see the theme, I can see where it's going, but it's not the best way to portray it because it, again, made us nauseous. It made me feel sick looking at that because I was like, oh my gosh, sit still for a second. Let me see the screen.
Now, in terms of like on the line of stuff like that, I feel like the movie wanted to be a lot more artistic than it was, or that it like, because the camera work, there were so many zoom ins, there were so many fucking close ups, and just like shots where there was like the tilted angle when he was grabbing the knife and grabbing everything out of the kitchen, and like, so Dev Patel played the main guy, the Monkey Man, right? He also directed the movie. It's his first movie.
Oh.
And actually, side note, interesting story. This movie was supposed to go to Netflix immediately, but Jordan Peele saw it, loved it, and lobbied for it to get a theatrical release.
Nice.
And I meant to look up the numbers. I wish I looked up the numbers on whether or not it made a profit or not. But I feel like this movie wanted to be a lot more artistic than what it actually ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I had a few more critiques on the movie. It made 35 million worldwide box office, by the way.
What was the budget?
10 million estimated. Made 10 million on the opening weekend.
Okay. So that's not the budget, though.
No, the budget was estimated at 10 million, and then on opening weekend they earned 10.1 million.
Okay, so it looks like they made their money. Not clear, but they.
Oh, and then after that they cleared it. They made 35 million worldwide as of July 3rd, 2024. Yeah. So
I've learned this from Mr. Sunday Movies, so those of you can critique me if you want. When like going through that, you have to double that and add maybe 3-4 million for marketing, which there wasn't a lot of marketing for this movie anyway, so I don't even know if it reached that high. So they definitely made their money and then some.
Yeah.
But not by a lot.
Yeah. I think some of my critiques came from there was points in the movie that were just like, okay. Like the zoom in to guy going, "You want to fuck, huh? You want to fuck, motherfucker?" And then a sex scene, just like spontaneous. I'm just like, okay, where did this even come from?
I think we have to do what we did with Transformers 1 and Ricky Stenicki, and this is a over-the-top action film, right? It has a dramatic base, which is honestly one of the main reasons I liked it. Is it had over-the-top action, it had over-the-top characters like that guy.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sex.
Not a lot.
There was sex.
It was just that one. Fucking. Yeah.
there was definitely fucking, but I loved that it had all that and a deep dramatic message, a deep message for you to take with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I could see he's taken some like ideas, not really, I can't say like artistic liberties, I don't think, but like it was very like John Wicky for a moment with the dog, especially because like I get it, you've been training the dog for this task, but dog delivery, just like after a few scenes of him feeding the dog, I'm just like, okay.
It's not delivery, it's dog delivery.
Yeah.
But before we wrap this up, I do want to ask your opinion on the ending. You flash spoilers on the screen. You know, we've spoiled every single one of these movies. But
my take on the ending was it was kind of ass.
Okay.
First,
I figured you would say that.
Yeah. Firstly, how the fuck did you know either one of those dudes were on either one of those floors?
True.
And while
I have to go back and watch because I believe there was like blood on the elevator numbers.
That was from his hand.
It could. I was about to say. Then again, that could be from literally anybody. So again, over the top. There's a lot of excuses to be made, but it's a valid thing.
Yeah, and then like
because I thought that when I saw him approaching the priest or whatever, I was like, yeah.
And then that was my next thing. I get the priest has been behind like pretty much everything, but like his like final scene just kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like it kind of seemed like after the police guy / politician, it would kind of lead into a second movie, but they're just like, nope, final fight, big guy, the priest. And I was just like, okay.
And also, how did he spot him?
How did you know that he went to the top room?
I know he memorized every single detail about the day where, you know, his living space was blown to shit and his mother was killed and whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, he was just out there with the rest of the cops that were trying to kill and beat everybody, and he just saw him through the window. And also, why was the priest there?
I have issues with his mother's death scene, too. Don't get me started on that one.
Of, like, the guy seeing him and not doing anything?
Of the fact that his mom ran into the house while seeing them throw Molotovs at the other houses.
And then hide her son
in the ceiling. Yeah. Like, it's just, yeah, that irritated me. But the ending.
The ending, for those of you who need to know, he gets up to the priest. The priest starts to try to like gaslight him or tells him this whole story about how
gives him the monologue.
This villain in this painting that is all over the movie wasn't actually a villain. He was a visionary and yada. And then he stabs him
a few times. No,
and then
once.
He stabs him. Dude drops the knife, but he ends up getting the upper hand and killing the priest with a pretty good line of like, "No, please." And it's like, "That's up to you and God, homie."
Yeah, I literally wrote, "Only God can only God can forgive you, motherfucker." Like, I'm just like, okay.
And then after the priest dies, the camera zooms in on the monkey man, and he
falls
dies.
out. Yeah,
or he's presumed to be dead. He didn't die on camera, but he's literally.
There was something else I was going to say. Oh, there was one scene I actually think went pretty fucking hard in the remaining time when he was fighting. Doom scene.
I akin it to Doom because of the soundtrack in the ballroom.
No, that's not what I was thinking of. But that also was a very visually good looking scene, to be honest. Reminded me of Oppenheimer with the effect ish.
Okay.
But the scene that I saw that went hard was when he was fighting the police guy, and they like hit fists. That kind of just went hard. I was like, fist bump went hard as hell because like they punched
the bathroom or the final one.
The final one. When he's like all zoned in, and he's like punches him, and they knock fists, and you could see the police guy was like, and the other was just like, nah, powering this through. I was like, that kind of went hard.
Call me a weeb, but that seems very anime.
It probably
inspired.
Is. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, did you watch Creed 3?
No.
Dude, whenever you get the time, watch the final fight from Creed 3. It is something straight. They literally take a shot-by-shot scene from Dragon Ball Z. And like, you can tell me if it lands or not. I thought it was pretty fucking sick.
I'll have to like rewatch all of the Creed movies because I don't remember seeing. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Creed 2, and I don't remember how long it's been since I've seen the first one.
Dropping a little hot take before we give our ratings on Monkey Man. Creed is better than Rocky. I watched Rocky. I've watched Creed. I loved Creed. I liked Rocky. But we're not talking about that. In all, I've said nothing but praises about this movie outside of 2 issues, plus agreeing with some of your critiques. All in all, I love this movie. I might buy this movie. Like, to me, it's the best revenge story movie I've ever seen. Like, and I've seen John Wick.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, whatever. It's an 8 out of 10 for me.
I liked the movie creatively, though were some of my critiques were about the creative like issues I've had with it, but it in general I'd have to rate it on a higher scale than the others because it was a more serious movie and they did do a lot of good things. So I'm probably gonna 7.
Okay. So all in all, out of the 3 movies, how would you rate them 3-1?
3-1 would Ricky Stenicki, Transformers 1, Monkey Man, in the order we critiqued them, really, in the order we reviewed them.
See, I'm going to do a little bit of a change up, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
3-1, 3 Transformers 1, 2 Ricky Stenicki, and then Monkey Man. Now, 1, 2, it's like that. There's a massive gap between Monkey Man and Ricky Stenicki. But I know I rated Ricky Stenicki a 4 and Transformers 1 a 5. But with those 2 movies, I don't see a scenario in which I ever watch Transformers 1 again unless I have a kid and still have Paramount Plus and they're like, Transformers? And then I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch this movie. But I can see myself turning my brain off and being like, I'll watch Ricky Stenicki again.
See, but my gap between Ricky Stenicki and Transformers 1 is probably like that compared to Transformers 1 and Monkey Man probably being a little less. But like, I don't think I would want to go back and watch Ricky Stenicki. It was a fun like one-off, but to watch it again, I just would not hit.
It's fair. So Z, to answer the question, is film the industry? We watched 3 2024 movies, 3 very different movies from 3 very different times in the year. I don't really know when these movies came out. And I know that, absolutely, you can base the entire industry based off of just 3 films.
Absolutely.
So what would your opinion be? Is cinema cooked?
It's kind of cooked. It's kind of cooked.
It's not looking good.
In terms of like my overall enjoyment with the movies, for the most part, I enjoyed them. Were they like actually good movies in my opinion?
Don't talk shit about Monkey Man like that. Monkey Man was a great movie.
See, Monkey Man was an enjoyable movie, but my issues ran a little deeper than the other two from how serious the movie was supposed to be, or how serious the movie felt like it was supposed to be. And it made my issues with it just a little bit more like actual issues, because it was supposed to be more serious, and it just had some things that just kind of didn't make too much sense, I guess.
All right. Well, it's past an hour. Let us know what you thought about these reviews. Let us know what you thought about this format of an episode. We have a lot of ideas for this kind of format, and we've been talking about doing movie reviews for a while, and I figured that this might be a little bit of a better way to do this, to do a whole podcast.
Yeah.
So let us know what you thought, and while you're doing that, make sure you like, rate, and share, especially rating, especially sharing. See, what's a 5-star rating that these fellas can leave?
These guys, they watch movies and they can talk about them. 5 stars.
Absolutely. But as I said, share as well. Click that crooked arrow, share to whatever platform that you must, or word of mouth. Word of mouth is very, very important. If your buddy comes up and says, hey, I just randomly watched Ricky Stenicki, Transformers 1 and Monkey Man, and I just want to hear people talk about it. Z, what do they tell them?
Well, you can head on over to the boys Jackie and Z over at RedLightHomies, anywhere you could listen to your podcast, and you could hear them talk about it. And you could probably either agree or disagree with their opinions. Let them know.
Absolutely. If you disagree, remember, call in a bomb threat. Right, Z?
Absolutely not.
This was the homies Jackie and Z.
That's me.
And we'll see you on next Monday.
Peace out.